Hey guys, welcome again to another edition of Learning with Rich. So in this topic, we're going to discuss about some of the Revit modeling best practices. Okay, so I have picked these tips from various blogs as well as from Autodesk. Okay, so we'll be talking about this one. So this will also helps you to lessen the file size of Revit. Some of the tips that I'm going to show you. All right. The tips that I'm going to show you is not in particular order, okay? So all of this for me is important, okay? So it's not in the order because all of these are important for me. All right. So the first one is, okay, actually this is the first time that you need to do when doing your project. So you need to set up your levels properly. Okay, so while not absolutely necessary, having the majority of levels you will need to set up prior to modeling will save you a good amount of time down the road. All right, so you better set up your levels properly. Okay, if you are using Revit MEP, so it would be better to link your architecture and to set up your levels properly for you to be able to get the levels from the architecture. It would be better for me, in my opinion, so it would be better to copy monitor the levels from the architectural model to your Revit MEP project. Okay, so this is the first one. Set up your levels properly. Okay, now the next one is after you set up your levels, so use the grids, okay? You better create your grids. Again, this should be based on the architectural model if you are doing Revit MEP. So you just need to follow the grids of your architectural model. You can copy monitor the grids, or if you want, you can create it manually. The point here is you need to use your grids, okay, in let's say aligning your columns, aligning your beams, or any other objects, okay, and pin it down. Okay, you need to pin it down so that you do not move your grids accidentally. All right. And aside from grids, it would be better off also to pin other elements. Okay. Okay, so that you do not move these elements accidentally or unknowingly, which is one of the common mistakes of some users that is just starting using Revit. All right. So the next one is limit the use of joining geometry. Why? Because when you use geometry, the Revit file size will increase over time. So in my case, I do not use joining geometry. The safe practice here is to use join geometry only when necessary. Okay. But if you're just trying to show off, no need to do that. Okay. Because it will just increase the file size of your project. The next one is close the windows that is not being used. Because when you work in a 3D view, most of the file is placed into RAM. So it is also strongly recommended that you close these windows when saving to a central file, because these views are regenerated as part of the process. So it is best to save a 3D view with minimal visibility and then copy it to create new views faster. Okay, the point here is close all the views that is not being used. Okay, now the next one is avoid opening additional views. Okay, so if you're not going to use these additional views, no need to open. So it is better to not open a view at all rather than opening one and then closing it. Why? As not all the memory is reclaimed when you close a view. Okay, so again, it will affect your modeling if you're going to open unnecessary views, so it will becomes laggy. All right. What's next? The next one is if you are into visualization, most of the time you turn on the shadows, right? For you to be able to see how the shadow affect or how the sun affects your model. But in most of the time, it just makes your file a little bit slow. Okay, so if you're not going to use the shadows, okay, turn it off. Okay, shadows should only be used on presentation views as computing shadows are intensive. So it really affects the performance of your project. Okay, so what's next? The next one is I use room separation lines. So room separation lines help divide rooms where no other bounding object is present. So however, just be careful. When these lines begin to overlap with other bounding objects, such as, let's say, for example, the walls and columns, they will cause errors. Okay, so you will encounter that. The use of room separation lines should be minimized as much as possible by using room bounding elements whenever appropriate. All right, so I think I have a video on how to use the room separation line. If I don't have, maybe I'm going to create this one. All right. So next, all right, power of work sets. Okay, so using work sets more can vastly improve your workflow. Okay, so make it easy to see which links have been opened by placing Revit links into a separate work sets. So this is what I do in my project. So let's say, for example, I'm doing Revit MEP. So once I link the architecture as well as the structural model, what I do is, I actually create a separate work set for architecture and structure. Okay, so that I'll be able to control the visibility of my links using the work sets. Okay, so keep the model well structured by breaking it into work sets. Okay, I have a video of this one. You can refer to that video. All right. So you better use your work set, especially most of the project requires multiple team members to work on it. So we enable the work sets. Okay. The next one is, all right. So I'll eliminate unused families. Okay. So you better purge all the families that you are not going to use in your project, especially if you're going to export your file or you're going to give the file to your another team member or to the client. Okay, so you better purge and use families. Okay, so to increase the performance, purge and use families often so it is easier to remember which ones should go. Also, only remove the families and not the types, okay, which can be hard to reintroduce once erased. Okay, so just be careful. Okay, so again, eliminate unused families. The next one is if you are into 3D modeling, you're doing the family, avoid too much detail in a family. Like for example, in the case of creating a mechanical equipment family. Okay, no need to make it too fancy. Okay, if you can just create a box, okay, you can just put some connectors on it, then that's it. Okay, no need to add too much detail to the family if the client is not asking. Okay, so if the families grows too detailed, model display performance can be impacted, especially on larger projects. Okay, remember that. So when highly detailed models are required, create high and low detail versions of the family. So use family type parameters to switch between these versions depending on the output need. All right. The high detail versions can be temporarily switched for visualization and exporting. So you can create a detailed family, high detailed family, and low detailed family. Okay. So the point here is avoid too much detail in a family. Okay, and you can use a symbol. So instead of showing the 3D model, so you can use the symbol instead. Okay, the next one is if you're going to buy a machine for Revit, always refer to the system requirements of Revit. You can go to the autodesk.com or you can just search Revit system requirements, and then you'll be able to see there what is the specification of the machine that you should buy for you to be able to run Revit. Okay, so it's better to check out also the certified hardware and graphic cards before you buy the machine. Okay, so you always go to the Autodesk website. Okay, what's next? The next one is using the drawing files. So minimize drawing imports, and let's say for example you already use a drawing in or AutoCAD file in Revit, don't explode it. Okay, drawing are one of the main causes of increased file sizes and reduce model performance. So minimize drawing links and imports by using them only for reference, and then remove them once Revit elements have been generated. Okay? Because usually while we are doing our modeling, there are instances our client is asking for a detail. So for the meantime, you can create or you can use your AutoCAD, you can import that to your project so that you at least you have a detailed view. But after you use that one, you already finish modeling your Revit, so you can now remove the AutoCAD once the Revit elements have been generated. Okay, so just minimize the use of drawing imports. Okay, the next one is minimize the use of Revit Inplace Family. Okay, so when you say Inplace Family, because in Revit we have three types of family: in-place family, component family, and system family. So when you say in-place family, it is actually the family that you created within the context of the project. Okay, you cannot save this in-place family as a component family. So in-place family only resides in the project where you have created it. Okay, so using an in-place family, it makes your file size increase. So it's kind of making your project laggy. So avoid using the use of in-place family. Okay. Next one is maintain fewer and only essential links. Okay. So you do not put all the unnecessary links in your project. So you only need to link what are the essentials one. Okay, because it really affects the performance of your project. All right, the last one is use families instead of groups. Okay, because groups, it's the file size of that is bigger than the family. So instead of using groups, use the families. All right. So basically, these are the my top picks for Revit best practices for modeling. So these are the ones that I have chosen, and which is what I am also using on my modeling. Okay, so hopefully this Revit best practices for modeling has been helpful to you guys. If you have other best practices, you can put it on the comment section below. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, just put it there and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And once again, don't forget to like my videos and subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right? So, this is Rich. Have a nice day.